Okay, I'm very happy to say that I think this is going to be the last update before I start the car. So, if we're lucky, I'll be starting the car in a couple days and you'll be seeing it a day or so later. So, here we go. For starters, the wiring is pretty much done, as far as I can tell. So, what we have this switch panel here. I decided to use switches because when you go with using the ignition cylinder, you know, that works, but I didn't want to mess with that right now. I'll probably put in a key ignition at some point, but for now these are completely separate from one another. Actually, also these two switches don't actually do anything. I was anticipating needing more switches than I actually did. Once I actually really got into the wiring, I realized I could simplify it and use just one switch. So right now, I have just one switch. This is ignition, and then I've got a start button right in there. And when I turn it on, we get red lights, because that's always cool. Lights make everything better. One other thing to wire up, I guess, is the malfunction indicator lamp, which is basically a check engine light for the control pack, and it's right here. It's on this, as you can see. So yeah, wiring is pretty much done. This is what it looks like. I still need to clean it up, so it's not like done, but it's pretty close. So I need to clean it up. I need to wire up the malfunction indicator lamp. Other than that, it's pretty much done. I've got the fuel pump wired up back here, and you can kind of see what I'm putting up there. And I have never been happier to be sprayed with gasoline, but I tried to pop off the fuel line just for a second so I could get a pressure tester on it, just to see if I was actually building fuel pressure, because the control pack would only turn the fuel pump on for like a second and then it'd be off. And I was worried that it wasn't building pressure, that there was some kind of an electrical error. As it turns out, it actually doesn't keep the fuel pump on 100% of the time, like I had initially thought, and it does cycle it on and off as it builds pressure. So it seems that we have adequate fuel pressure then. Obviously, I still want to test it, but I don't actually have the right attachment to test the fuel pressure, but it should be within the specified range, because you know, it doesn't seem likely that it would be out of the specified range. The specified range is very broad. It's like 55 to 110 psi or something like that. So anyway, I'm not too worried about the fuel pressure. I think I do have adequate fuel pressure, but we'll address that a little bit later once I find a way to test my fuel pressure. But other than that, we've got intercooler piping. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but this has been in for a long time now, actually. Or has been, this part of it has been done for a long time now. But the rest of it, I just pulled it aside for a second so I can finish up wrapping these wires and electrical tape, add a fuse to the E-pass, and bolt down the engine mounts. But other than that, that's pretty much it except for intercooler piping. Those are my last couple of steps before finishing up this piping. I want to have a welder put the blow-off valve on. The blow-off valve is going to go right there. I was toying with the idea of using a T, but at this point it's just not practical, because it's actually going to be faster for me to... Where did I put my blow-off valve? It's actually going to be faster for me to just take the blow-off valve and the charge air pipe to a welder who has an AC TIG and can do this. I don't have an AC TIG, I have a MIG, so it's not possible for me to put this on here. Even though my MIG has a spool gun, the spool gun is not adequate for a material of this thickness. I can only do thicker aluminum, like 1/8 inch plate aluminum, so much thicker than this. But that's going to go on there. There's not going to be silicone on it, it's just going to be aluminum to aluminum. And yeah, so that's one of the last steps. That's one of the only things I'm actually paying somebody to do, that and the exhaust. So yeah. In addition, I've got a new, I can't remember what you call it, I guess Y-pipe, intake Y-pipe thing. It's not, well actually the reason I got a new one is because this is, it really only works with the factory air box, which is massive and doesn't fit in this car. So what I got is AFE's Y-pipe that's just the Y pipe. So it doesn't have a filter. It doesn't have charge air, or not charge air. It doesn't have turbo intake pipes. It's just this little Y pipe, so I can attach my turbo intake pipes, my factory ones, and a filter, and put my map sensor in it, and be done with it. So that's nice to have that part. It's supposed to come in tonight, but it's not here yet, so I can't show you it. But in the next video, hopefully all this will be done, and you'll see it. But yeah, other thing, the factory EcoBoost recirculates air, so I had to take that out because I'm using an aftermarket blow-off valve that vents to atmosphere, so I actually cut it off and tried my hand at plastic welding, and it came out okay. So yeah, anyway, I sealed that up kind of nicely. It's a little rough to finish, but it holds air. That's the important part. Yeah, let's see what else. Wow, I think that might actually be it. So this is a little bit of a short video. I know it's been a little while, and you'd probably expect a few more updates in this time, but there's been a lot of little things that have just really consumed my time. A lot of testing and trial and error and figuring out things that work and things that don't. Other thing, I've got this battery connected, which is the battery that powered the car before. It's been since November of last year since it's gotten any kind of a charge. It's kind of just sat on a shelf since I parked the car in here in November of last year. So yeah, it's flat, like flat. It will hold maybe 6 volts max. So anyway, I've got it hooked up to a maintainer. It's got a 50 amp function. I tried to start the car with that, but it won't start. It'll just like cough, you know. It will not even cough. Cough would imply that it's actually trying to start. It won't turn over once, but you can hear the starter motor trying to turn it over. You can hear it trying to turn, but it's just not getting enough power. So that'll be something I have to replace, which I was planning on replacing anyway, because I'm not even sure it'll fit in my battery box. But yeah, I'll need to get a smaller battery, and one that actually holds charge, more importantly. So yeah, anyway, I think that's actually it. So thank you for watching, and get excited, because this is probably the last update before we start it. Knock on wood. Alright, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think down below.